Hello, I'm JW, and today we're going to look at this thing behind me, which is an arcade machine. Now this is a Sega Mega Tech. It dates from around 1989, so it's just coming up for just under 30 years old. And the story with this is I bought this many years ago, probably, I don't know, 6 years or 7 years ago, at a local auction, and it was not in a working condition at the time, and it was actually sold as non-working. Turned out most of the parts were actually in there, but some morons had been in and pulled half the wires out and actually even removed some of the connectors for those wires. And the top display here, this small one, wasn't actually working at all because several of the components on the board had failed, including the flyback transformer, which had a big split right through the middle of it. Here's a picture of that massive split when I put another one in about 5 years ago. And the rest of it has been cleaned up and fixed up and now does actually work. So let's have a just look around the thing, and then we can see it actually turned on. Now, so this is made by Sega, and you can see the top part here with the actual logo, and this 10-inch CRT in the top here. Now, this is actually used to display information for the particular game you've selected, because this thing can actually have up to 8 games installed in it at any time, and then you can pick whichever one you want to play. And unlike most other machines, it actually works on a time-based thing, so in the days when it actually had to have money put in, any money you put in would actually work to give you a certain amount of time playing, not necessarily being able to complete the game in question. And as it says here on the side there, it's basically the situation there: you just put money in, pick the game you want and play, and then if you want to play for longer, well, obviously insert more coins, and that's where the coins would of course go in. Now this has no coin acceptor. And if we just open this, we can see inside here. Coin acceptor would have been behind there. It's not installed at the moment, so there's just basically a big empty space in the back of there. We'll have a look at that a bit more detail shortly. Got the 2 speakers at the top there, and 2 lamps there for illuminating the front panel. 15 watts each, so it's 30 watts of blazing power in there, just to illuminate this plastic piece here. Main display there, which you can't see very well because of the reflection, is a 20-inch CRT, and then we've got the control panel here. 1 or 2 players, so obviously you've got your 1 player on this side, your direction, and then the 3 ABC buttons, and then pretty much the same for player 2 over that side. Keys here, these are new ones because the old ones were not included with it, and half the locks were busted anyhow. And then at the bottom here, this is the main door where the actual PCB is located, and at the bottom here we've got the 2 doors there, one on the right, which would have been where the cash box would have been. Cash box is actually missing. Well, someone obviously took it away and didn't return it. And then another door there just for general storage. Again, nothing really in there. Bottom plate there with the rubber bit and the metal trim. Cabinet's not in too bad a condition. Here's the side here. There's no side art on this side for whatever reason, it's just plain black. And then we have a look on the left side. Side art's there, it's got a few damages on it, as you can see there. Otherwise it is substantially complete. And there is a bit of damage here down at the bottom, just on that foot there, so it's actually cracked off, and the bottom in general has got a fair amount of chips and damages out of it, as it's only made of chipboard. Here's a look on the back here, that's just the top cover there with a high voltage warning. Just have the original label here with the serial number, so this is 291056, and actually there 220 volts, 50 Hz obviously for the UK, 190 watts in total. A couple of handles there, and then there's the lower panel, which we'll remove in a moment, and of course the mains lead going in, and the 2 rollers on the back there, so it's slightly easier to move around. Now another thing here on the front, it does still have the original Sega Seal inside here, so that's number 10373, that's sort of inside there behind the glass on the CRT surround. So I'll take all of the covers off and we can have a look inside and see what's actually inside this thing. So just taking off the covers so we can have a look inside. So top part just hinges open there. There's those bulbs we saw earlier. And this is the 10-inch top display here. This is a CRT display. So this is from 1989 when things like LCDs and whatever were not an option. This is the hole where your rejected coins go, and that's obviously the slot where the coins would go in, but as I said earlier, there's no actual coin acceptor in there. On the top here we've got the controls on the left here. These are for this display. It's basically things like the width, height and the horizontal hold and various other things there, more sort of basic adjustments for that. And the cable there just goes around the back, of course attaches to the frame there directly. A couple of spare light bulbs there, mainly because when I got this it didn't have any, and of course you have to buy a pack of 4 or whatever they're contained in, so a few spares there. You can just about see in there the coin tubes which go down to the box underneath, so they're still intact there. Here's the CRT, or the 10-inch one at least. There's the back of it there. And what's been replaced here is the flyback transformer, which is that thing in there. That was completely split open on the original, and several of the capacitors on the board have also been replaced as well, as some of those were literally just showing as open. And from the state of this, it was apparent that this has been run for a very long period of time at an excessively high brightness. Either due to someone just basically screwing around with all of the adjustments on this, or basically they didn't know what they were doing. And the screen is actually horribly burned. And if we just put round to the front again, here's the front, and this is not turned on. You can see here the actual shadowing on the screen there. It's completely, utterly burned away. You can see the sort of outline of that there. A bit of the wording here, and you can even see the line of the game sort of burned in, and the word menu at the top as well. Not sure how well that comes across on the camera, but suffice to say that CRT is definitely not in good condition. This particular one is a Toshiba. Just get in there possibly and see the tube type there. So a fair amount of repair has been done on the top there. The main one here, which is the 20-inch, has basically just been cleaned and various bits of junk cleaned out, because like the top one, it had a thick layer of disgusting nicotine, black fur and goodness knows what else stuck all over the thing. So that's been cleaned as well. Controls do work. These are the micro switch variety. So when you move this, you're actually clicking on an actual micro switch in the back, and the same with the buttons as well. Front panel here opens with 2 catches that are underneath, can only be accessed when the door is removed, and the whole thing just hinges forward. And then we can see inside, here's the catches here, just one on each side, one there, and one there. They just lock into pieces on either side. So the switches on the back are actually just individual micro switches. See there, that just clicks around on that one, and the same when the buttons are pressed. So there they all are on the back. This earthing wire has been added because it didn't actually have one originally, so obviously not desperately safe in that regard. And then we can see down inside there, that's actually the main PCB there with the games on this side. Now just below there, of course this is inside, we can see here the main PCB, and this is one side where the actual game cartridges are located. And there's 8 of these. You can have less if you want, but obviously sensible to fill up as many as you can. Now this has actually got 8 in there. There's also another 1, so there's actually 9 with this particular machine. On the side here we have the controls for the setup and the service switch basically. This here is a micro switch to detect when the cover is opened or the door is opened. And these are the volume controls for the left and right speakers, obviously on the top there. And then below that on the next shelf we've got the power supply. So this is basically your mains power coming in and then just converted to various voltages. And essentially we've got 12 volts here and also a 5 volt as well, which is what this adjustment knob is for. So those of course all go around to the back. That's an isolation transformer there, which is for the 2 CRTs, as bizarrely they run on 128 volts AC, and they also need to run from an isolated supply. It's also in the instructions for it. This is a mains filter, so that just bolts down and mains in one side and mains out on the other. And then over there it's just basically some toner blocks and some fuses in the middle there. These are the coin tubes which come down from the top, so essentially it's 4 different types of coins, and then in the bottom here you would have a drawer with 4 compartments, so as coins were put in they would obviously fall into one of the 4 compartments, so obviously sorted into the different types automatically. And then at the bottom here, this is the counter for the coins, so when coins are inserted this will increment, so then the operator will know how many coins have been put in, and then can compare how many coins are actually in the tray with how many that should be. so that any of their dodgy employees in the arcade are pocketing 50% of the takings. And this drawer over here is just basically storage, so as you see there's nothing really in there. It's just a cupboard for storing spare cartridges or whatever. Now on the back of the door here we do have the settings for the various switches. Now this is a fairly poor copy. I do have a better copy of this as a separate item, but there it is, just sort of stuck on the back of the front door. Here's the view from the back, and this is the main PCB with the various processor things on there. Got the original labels on that as well. And so there's the 8 game cartridges across the front. This additional board is part of the original design, and again that's part of the sort of thing for the timer and whatever else. And I've got the connection on the back here for the video and various other connections to the controls and so on. Now essentially what this is a Sega Mega Drive modified so it can have 8 cartridges at once, and then there's this other bit here which is basically the thing that controls the amount of time you can play it for. So in terms of the gameplay on this, it's exactly the same as it would be on a Sega Mega Drive. It's just the fact that it's been repackaged into a cabinet with up to 8 games and a bit of additional circuitry so you can select between those games and of course have the time restriction, so people have to pay for it. So in terms of capability, it's not actually that good, and even when it was released it wasn't actually that good, because it's basically the same as buying a Sega Mega Drive and the games and playing it at home. Here's another view on the back here. This is just some additional connectors there for the various different voltages, and again there's the transformer there and the back side of the fuse holder. There's what's here. This is where the mains lead comes in, so that's just down there, and the earth goes onto the metal plate down here. And then of course the wires come up and go to the various different areas. And then finally up under here you can see the back of the 20-inch CRT. So it's a bit difficult to see because it's obviously way up in there. It's basically the same as the 10-inch one on the top. Of course obviously it's somewhat larger, but in terms of the PCB and whatever else it's pretty much the same kind of layout. It's just, of course the tube is considerably larger. Now there are a few wires here which aren't connected. These two, for example, they've got the covers on the end, and then there's a spare earth tag here which doesn't appear to actually go to anything, and there were various others and things around, so whether that was by design or whatever isn't clear, but nevertheless all those that are connected should be, actually are, and it does appear to work as intended. And so they all seem to be mostly original, including the power cord. So let's turn it on and see what gives. So get ready for the 15 kilohertz lovely whine. The power switch is located on the top here. So see the top does light up, and so does the actual coin slot as well. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to cost on the camera, but that's about as good as the top gets. It's rather washed out and the colours are a bit wonky around the edge. The border is supposed to be white, so not ideal. Main CRT does also work. It's a bit on the dim side, but I'd rather have it on the dim side than being completely burnt out and over bright. And as you hear, the sound of course works as well. Now I'll just turn the sound down so you can obviously hear what I'm saying over that, so I'll just turn those knobs, that will get rid of that. Now the deal is that there's 8 games installed and they're listed on this small screen here. So it says insert coin, and see the time here on the bottom left here is basically how much playing time we've got left in minutes and seconds, obviously 0 to start with. And in terms of the controls, you've got down here, on here you've got game select and also enter. So by pressing the game select it will just cycle through the various games. So let's go back to the top there. Pressing that once will just move to the games in the sequence, and when you actually get to one of those it does change at the same time here, so that's obviously on outrun at the moment. If you press again just to go down to Altered Beasts, then again it changes to that one as well, and there's Tetris after that. Now once you pick the game you wanted, then as it says at the bottom it's a question of pressing the enter button, and then the screen there will then display some basic instructions on how to actually play. So a bit of text there, and then also it says press enter for the next page. And that gives you the controls, which are again fairly basic. So we've got a stick and then 3 buttons there. And again it goes back to the rest of that, and so on. So all of these do have some instructions there included. So there's the outrun, and again it's just a brief description and the controls for that. And for those that don't know how to play Tetris, well, there's the information, and again the controls. As I said earlier, the button here, if you press this, it's the same as putting in a coin. So if we just have a look at the screen here, and I'll just press that button, and you see that the time should then increase. So they've got 2 minutes 58, 5:56, so it's adding about 3 minutes on each press, it would appear. Although it didn't have it on that time, but nevertheless, its concept is, of course, you pay for time rather than actually the number of lives or whatever else. So that part of it obviously does work. And then when you actually press enter to start the game, then it will actually start the game playing. And of course the start buttons then will work on the bottom here. That's just sort of the demo mode, and if you press the one player start, then after a bit of delay, then you will also get to select which ones you would want. So 2 players obviously is an option on this one, and then you can also get through and actually play the thing, and yeah, that rotates the thing, and then obviously it can go down to the bottom. And interesting enough, when you're halfway through this, you can actually press the game select, which is here, and it will just switch immediately to another game, completely erasing what you were just doing. And of course, all the while the time here is just counting down and disappearing. So that's the Sega Mega Tech, and I say it is now working at least reasonably well. So the top screen is somewhat out of order, but it's certainly readable and does the job. Of course, you can't fix burnt-in CRTs unless you simply replace the whole tube. And that's not going to be an easy thing these days because nobody makes them anymore. Now I'll put another video on after this one which will have basically a screenshot of the various demo modes on the game and the sound as well, for those that want to see that. I'll do that when it's a bit darker so you don't get the obvious reflections all over the screen. And a point about this as well is I'm actually looking to sell this machine. I don't have any space for it here. It's basically been stuck in storage for several years, so it really has to go. So if it's still available, there'll be a link in the description to the eBay listing for this thing, should you wish to buy it. And if there is no link there, then it's already sold and has gone. I'll leave this video up afterwards because obviously it can be useful as information. So until next time, thanks for watching.